Hi, everyone. I am so excited to have my friend Adam here today. I first heard Adam speak at WordCamp Portland in 2017, and we did not know each other. And then a year later in 2018, we found ourselves both traveling with GoDaddy for the very first time. Myself as just a customer, and Adam was the new person in charge of WordCamps. And so we really hit it off and we have become fast friends ever since. Adam, to me, is what the WordPress community is all about. And I'm going to share a link in chat to a film about WordPress called Open. And you can see it at the link there, and Adam's featured in it. And it talks about what sets WordPress apart, our community. And I'm just thrilled to have my friend Adam here because to me, he is the epitome of the WordPress community. And I'll let you take it away, Adam.
Wow, Tammy, can we spend the first couple of minutes gathering myself? Thank you very much. That's very, very kind of you to say, and I feel the same. So hi, everybody. My name is Adam. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint here. If I can find it, there we go. And is the main slide up?
Looks like we're seeing presenter view.
Aha, okay, that's any difference there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That's what I was wondering about. Well, as Cami said, my name is Adam. Sheila and Terry and Cami, thank you so much for inviting me to join and share my story. I want to make sure that although this presentation is going to be on the surface a lot about me, it's really not. My purpose with this story is to make this about you and to make this about WordPress, but also about your passions surrounding WordPress, the software, and the community, and share my story and how I made WordPress my career. So I'll probably go through things a little bit fast, but I want to leave time for Q&A and for closing remarks. So this is all about the moments that matter. So I'll be sharing my story, and I've broken it down into to little moments that have slightly veered, or in some cases 360'd my path. So I grew up in small town Michigan, in Western Michigan. This is the slogan for the town. It is on a sign as you drive in. It's called Spring Lake, Michigan. And it was in the 1980s. It was the era of long phone cords, arcades with stand-up machines, and also the beginning of the personal computer era. Oh, let me see, get to the right screen. And my profession, or my professional work, started when I was 12 with a paper route. My dad made me get the job. He was a blue collar guy, believed very strongly in work ethic and making your own way. And this is where it began for me about creating a strong work ethic. But really, when I think back in retrospect, it was the beginning of my entrepreneurial thinking, because this paper route I was fully in charge of. Basically, drop a bunch of papers on my front porch, and it was up to me to deliver them and then get paid. So my work career continued through high school with jobs like busboy, dishwasher, cook, and also, fun fact, hot dog cart pusher, known as Wee Willie's Weenie Wagon. I also worked as a blueberry farmhand, and the Wee Willie's Weenie Wagon was the only job I've ever been fired from, actually, when I was 15, because I was so good at customer service, I couldn't say no to my friends when they wanted free food and pop or soda and chips. Now, I was always known as the artist of the family because I doodled a lot and I really liked art. In high school, I took commercial art. And so I went off to college for an advertising design degree. So what I thought was going to happen, again, time frame, late 80s, first year of college was 1990. I thought I was going to get done with that degree and go live in New York City and live the life of this show, 30 something. If I'm dating myself, I'm sorry. If you're not familiar with the show, please Google it. It's a good one. So while I was in college, that was my first introduction to the internet in any real form. And that came in the form of a bulletin board system. And if you're not familiar, this is a rendering or an example of one that was made in 2019. But it was basically, it looked like this. I went to a friend's house after working at the pizza place, and her boyfriend showed us all who were there that we could chat and email people from around the world. And I remember just being completely amazed. And I don't know why it sticks out, but we were talking to a guy from Belgium, and we were in now Eastern Michigan. It really just blew my mind, and that stuck with me for many years. And then after I got my degree in advertising design, rather than New York, I went straight to the factory floor building office furniture because in Western Michigan, that was the big industry, and that's usually what you do. So while I was there, though, I wanted to apply my schooling, my passion for art. And so I started my first business, which resulted in my first website. And my first business was called Warner Works, and it was pen and ink portraits taken from photographs. So you would take the photograph, blow it up, and then pen and ink it out. I used a site called NetFirms. It's still there today if you go to netfirms.warnerworks.com. I believe it was Microsoft front page and some hand-coded HTML that the site was built with, and it was basically a series of tables, and I believe there was a scrolling marquee at one point because that was really cool tech back then. And it was rather successful until I tapped out my customer segment, which was all the people that I worked with. But that's really the mix of the bulletin board system and then building this first website. And this was in the mid 90s. Was where my passion for the internet and for websites and eventually WordPress started. So reality sets in. I've tapped out my my customer base, and then it was a few years later, still working in office furniture. When 9/11 happened. And after 9/11, the office furniture industry lost a lot of government contracts because money was routed elsewhere. So that began a series of layoffs. And so my reality set in right before that, where I understood that, okay, I'd be potentially working in this building for the next 30 years with a 20-minute lunch, 2 weeks vacation every summer. I knew I wanted more than that out of life and my future. I didn't know how to get it. I didn't know what I wanted, but that's where I was at when this series of layoffs started. I volunteered to be laid off when that was probably the exact opposite thing that any sane person would suggest that I do. At the same time, I was going through a divorce. So now I had no job, no spouse. I remember this was my first real bout with depression, sitting on the living room floor, laying there staring off into nothingness, not knowing what to do, what to say, how to get help. It was just myself and my trusty chocolate lab at the time. Through a series of family and friends, understanding that things had made a 180 in a not a very positive way. They supported me, made me see the light, and made me realize that I had a new beginning. And so in my mind, it was time for a drastic change. So being in Michigan, where do you go? Florida. So I packed up the car with my dog. I went to Florida. I found some roommates online at the time. This was in late 2001, 2002. I started working 4 days later at a theme park, found a job right away, thankfully. And so being from this small town and having these large aspirations, and then realizing I was just potentially going to be working in the small town forever, uh, my advice, my first piece of advice is, if you're feeling that there's not opportunities in front of you right now, please keep in mind that the world is very big, and get out in it, whether it's just through the internet or whatever means you have, because this experience opened my eyes to people from all around the world, which gave me a better worldview, which made me realize how much opportunity is actually out there. A couple of years in Florida, this is 3 is the magic number, for better or worse. It's because my father had a heart attack, my brother passed away, and then my mother had a heart attack, all within a few months of each other. So I didn't know what else to do other than to go back to Michigan, because I knew I needed to be there. And this is what happened from them. So because of my brother's death, when I went back to Michigan, I ended up giving his eulogy, and I made a simple photo slideshow to show at his funeral. That turned into a business called Moving Moments, which was a photo to DVD memorial business. And I partnered with the local funeral home. Then that brought me back to building websites, because there was a website for that business. And that is what led me into finding WordPress. I was looking for a faster way to update, rather than writing a bunch of HTML and duplicating pages and uploading them via FTP. So I found WordPress, and not only WordPress, the software, but more importantly, WordPress, the community. WordPress spoke to my right brain and my left brain. It had the creative aspect, but also the linear aspect of looking at code. So I thought, okay, this is it. This is it. This is my passion. Websites are my thing. Here's what I'm going to do. I created a theme. No one used it because it was really, really ugly. I'm not a designer, even though I went to school for advertising design. I wouldn't ever say I'm a designer. So then I thought, well, I'll be a plugin creator. And the most popular comment about my plugin was, I activated this plugin and got the white screen of death. So I had this moment of imposter syndrome. Was I even worthy of this WordPress thing? Who am I to say I'm a WordPress guy or a WordPress person? I can't even make a decent looking theme or a plugin that works. So what I did is I gave my passion a focus. And because of my experience with WordPress in the community, and posting in the forums, asking a lot of questions, but then eventually being able to answer a lot of other people's questions, my passion turned into blogging and into tutorial blogging, and had found some success doing that, and making a little money from it via affiliate links and things like that. Fast forward to that was in 2005. 2006, I read The 4-Hour Workweek on my honeymoon in a hammock, and I knew that I did not want to be doing customer service. I should say, when I went back to Michigan, I was working customer service in an audiobook for an audiobook company, doing website and phone sales, which was a great job. But I knew I needed to work with WordPress, and I knew I needed to make that my career. So what I did is I shared a cubicle wall with the IT manager, and I kept talking about WordPress every day ad nauseum, saying, we need to use this thing for our audiobook authors. We need to be marketing them with blogging, et cetera, et cetera. So I jumped into the IT department to do just that. And I thought I had won the lottery. I was now working with WordPress every single day, loving it. Meanwhile, when I met someone in Florida who then came to Michigan with me, and who is now my wife, lived in Michigan for 4 years, it was time to get back to Florida. And right before that, I had started another business with WordPress, hosting blogs for other people. And this was called Indie Lab, and it was built on WordPress multi-site. And if you're not familiar with multi-site, it's basically what powers WordPress.com. It allows you to have people sign up for other WordPress instances under one installation. And I started to make really good money at it. So much so that it had surpassed, it had met and then surpassed my day job. And I was a couple of weeks from quitting my job and going full time with this business until I woke up one morning and to a bunch of emails from customers saying my site is showing Viagra ads and other kinds of ads. And as you might imagine, the installation was hacked. This was again 2007-ish, 2008. And there was not a security service. There was not a WordFence service that could just clean up for you. So after a series of trying and failing, I ended up closing the business and returning everybody's money. So again, another pivot, another moment that mattered where seemingly it looks like the end of my WordPress career. However, when one door closes, another opens. So I went back to Florida with WordPress as my guide. My wife, again, from Florida, in Michigan for 4 years, needing to get back to the Florida sunshine, found a job using WordPress multi-site for an HVAC company. And I would have never been able to get that job if I hadn't failed epically at the WordPress multi-site business that I had. And I wouldn't have had that business if I wouldn't have been able to use WordPress every day in that customer service job. So from there, my first WordCamp talk was in 2011 at WordCamp Miami, back to my passion for teaching others how to use WordPress. And then in 2012, the company that I had moved down there for in 2008 closed its doors. And I had the choice to go to Kansas or Sweden, which sounded kind of fun, but it was also 30 days before our first son was born. So knowing that I knew the plugin landscape, knowing that I can't code for squat, I found a business partner and another business started. That was Foo Plugins. That business went on for 4+ years before I left. It still is open today. And the reason that I left is because 4 years working at home with now 2 babies, trying to build a business, I was feeling, again, isolated, unfulfilled, and heading down the road to depression. Meanwhile, I had seen what people like Suzette Frank with Media Temple and Mendel Curlin with GoDaddy had done in the WordPress community. They started attending WordCamps and meetups and bringing feedback into their respective companies. And I knew that somehow, some way, that's the job that I wanted. At the time, it was called WordPress Evangelist. So I had been back to writing tutorials, got an email from a brand, that turned into an interview, that turned into full-time brand work with a company called SiteLock, which is who I attended WordCamp Seattle with the first time a few years ago. And then in 2008, as Cami mentioned, 18, moved to GoDaddy Pro. So the point in telling you all this is that today is the best moment in my WordPress journey, because I'm here to share the story with you about all the twists and turns and successes and failures, mostly failures, that lead me to now doing what I love every day, communicating with people that I know are passionate about providing solutions for themselves, building businesses, working with clients. So your best moment is right now also. You've decided to come to this meetup, to be involved, whichever one of the 5 it is, this MegaMeetup. So my challenge to you is, if you're feeling stuck or unsatisfied, is to simply reframe your outlook. If you have these feelings, first, you should know you're not alone. We all have these feelings at some point. And secondly, what the future holds is up to you, ultimately, even when presented with hurdles along the way. And I'm getting near time, so I'm going to just speed up a little bit. So WordPress opportunities abound. I am knee deep and neck deep into WordPress conversations every day, both through my work with GoDaddy Pro, but also through social, wherever that lies in social, and in-person conversations. And one of the goals that I have is to always share these opportunities when they come up. The WordPress ecosystem, the business ecosystem of WordPress, is as strong as it ever was, and it's only getting stronger. There are a million things that you could do within the WordPress space to make a living. Blogging for money. You could have a websites as a service business using WordPress multi-site. You could start a plugin business, whether you're a developer or not. You could be a brand advocate for any number of brands that are in the WordPress space. You could have your own freelance business, which I'm sure many of you do. You could work for an agency. You could do front-end work, back-end work. You can create courses, make money that way. You can do community work through companies like Automatic and a bunch of other hosts and brands, or create an adjacent tool or service to the people who use WordPress, like website designers and developers. If there's a need for something that audience would have, there's ample opportunity there. So where do you find these opportunities? One, and I should have put this on the slide, feel free to follow me on Twitter. It's at WPModder, M-O-D-D-E-R, because I'm always sharing this stuff from people in the industry who are posting jobs. Whoops, I need to go back one. So where to find them? Yes. One is to get involved. You're already here. You're already doing the work. You're at a meetup. You're getting involved. You could also go to make.wordpress.org and get on any number of contributor teams. It's not only a way to find out what's going on, what the trends and the fads are with the core software itself, but within the industry itself, and to make real connections and relationships with people. WordPress.org Slack also has a wealth of information jumping off of the make.wordpress.org teams. If you're not in the poststatus.com Slack group, this is a paid gig. I'm not working for them. I'm just in there. It's $99 a year to be in the post status Slack, and you will find representatives, well, owners of Yoast plugins, all of the different hosts, a lot of different teams involved in the plugins, Astra themes and Elementor and Divi and all of the others. This is, if you're interested in the WordPress business ecosystem, this is a wealth of knowledge to just even observe the conversations that are happening within post status. Also, if you do a hashtag search for WordPress and job alert, you'll be welcomed with a lot of opportunities there. So, and WordPress Facebook groups, of course, which probably many of us are in. You have the knowledge. You have the passion, and it's just a matter of deciding which of those roads to your passion you want to go down to. So my advice is to follow your passion and never stop. Thank you.